Hello gamers, my name is Panzer Penguin and this video is of HBG's Global War 1939 to 1945 game. All footage is from Tabletop Simulator, where this game can be played. I will link you in the description to my workshop where this particular version exists. This is the most complete and up-to-date version that you'll find on the workshop. Um, you can also subscribe to this channel and you'll get the updates. I do have a lot of additional movies, or not movies, videos planned in the near future. So be sure to subscribe so you get the updates. And I'll also link you to my Steam group if you're interested in playing this game. That will be the best way of getting in contact with me. So Global War is based off of the Axis and Allies 1940 Global board game, which you can also find on the workshop. It This is basically a giant mod for that. It uses a different map and some different rules, but it does borrow a lot of the same rules as Axis and Allies. It introduces new elements to the game and a wider variety of units, specifically country-specific special forces like Commonwealth Commandos, German SS units, and Tiger tanks. It also uses a different type of technology, which we have down here on this chart. You purchase the research die, and you roll whatever number you get. You mark it down, and these are the numbers that you need to get to research that technology. It's no more buy a tech die and roll and hope that you score the right number that gets you the technology. So in this case, you're always going to be moving towards gaining a technology, whether you roll a 1 or a 12. As you can see, some technologies can be researched within about 2 turns, even on average rolls. While if you're really lucky, you can also get some of the higher ones. One of the more complicated changes at the same time, though, is the country-specific units and combat and attack values. As you look here, you'll see that the armor, for instance, has different attack values depending on who you are. It also has different defense values if you're the Japanese, for instance. So remembering that, as opposed to having a generic all infantry, all armor attack on whatever, does slow gameplay down a little, especially if you're not used to playing whatever country it is you're playing, and the values are different from the previous country you've played, or if it's your first time playing. Uh, Overall, though, it kind of reflects some historical accuracy. Obviously, Japan didn't have tanks that were same quality as the European powers, for instance. So I do kind of like that. Players, I find, are often intimidated when they see this board and the large amount of things that load up when you first connect to the game. But it's really not that complicated. All you have to really worry about is managing your own armies, which cuts down that count a lot. I mean, if we look here, giant board, lots of armies everywhere, but here we're only playing as Germany, so here are all the units I need to worry about. They're not that bad in the end if you think about it. If you're a little confused as to what all these chips and things are, I do have another video on here that kind of goes over all the different things you'll see on the map. It's sort of an introduction to the actual board, not so much the game. So familiarize yourself with that if you're confused what all these different chips are. This is also not your typical tabletop simulator game, which is over in half an hour. This game is often played in multiple sessions over the course of a couple weeks. I find my gaming group, we pick a night of the week and we dedicate about 2 hours to play it. So, say on a Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, we all get on, we all play for about 2 hours, so it's not too late, and we call it a night. If during the week there is another day we can all get on and play, then we do. Otherwise, we plan on meeting same time on the following Thursday, for instance. So this is a bit of a commitment, but it's well worth it in my opinion. It's lots of fun. You can play multiple games with different people, see different tactics, things like that. So just be aware that it is a commitment if you do want to get into this sort of board game. But it's a strategy game. I mean, it's like if anyone's ever played Risk, those games can last hours themselves, and they're not even all that complicated. They're just a basic whoever rolls the highest wins, and yeah. So yeah, so keep that in mind before deciding to join or come with suggestions for days and times that you're available to play, and hopefully we can work things out. I can post more information on ongoing games and what days I'm available. Everybody's got a different schedule. I have mine pretty solid right now, so with some rare exceptions, I should always be able to commit to the times that I say I can. Um, so in this Global War 1939, the action does come thick and fast as the Germans start at war with the Allies, and Japan over here starts at war with the Chinas, which are these countries here. The German player, by virtue of being the first to go, essentially dictates the course of gameplay. It's also important for the German and Japanese player to communicate and be on the same page, as their combined actions will determine how quickly the United States enters the war. Too soon, and it could be too much for the Axis powers to deal with. Uh, you will see videos of mine on this channel that will go into actual gameplay and strategy, so be sure to check those out. And if you've never played before, what I just said may not make sense, but once you watch those videos, you'll have an understanding of what that actually means. What else? So one of my favorite things about this version of this game, compared to the Axis allies, is that Italy actually has a chance to survive. Uh, in Axis and Allies, the British player can attack Germany, or not Germany, Italy on turn one, and often perform what is called the Taranto raid, which essentially annihilates the Italian navy. In this game, however, uh, the Italians only join the war once Paris has fallen and on their turn. If you look, I'll pull it up right here. You can see, let me just pull this over to the side. So here we have the turn order, color coded to kind of match up with everyone. You can see here's the UK. This is when the UK goes. So when it's their turn, they aren't at war with Italy. However, Italy essentially goes last, um, so they cannot be attacked until turn two. This allows the Italian player to basically recover and launch an offensive first against the British, depending on their moves. Yes, it prevents the Italians from being killed on turn one, but that does not mean that they're going to be a major factor this time around. It does give them a chance if they're played right and correctly, and how that is, I'll let you determine. But it is possible for the Italians to have more of an effect in this game instead of basically just being like a minor country. Still tall order, of course, but gives them a fighting chance. Uh, In the Pacific, of course, we have the Japanese, um, and their strategy is, uh, well, Japanese strategy is the driving force behind all the strategies and movements in the Pacific, much like Germany and their moves in the Atlantic or the European side of the board, if you will. Um, like Germany, the Japanese players needs to settle on a decisive set of actions and be aggressive, pushing their early advantage before the sheer weight of the American production ability comes crashing down on them. The early part of the game is very much a pucker up and hold for the Allies, as I like to call it, as they start off at a huge disadvantage. They're being attacked first, as opposed to launching the attacks, and their income is not quite up to par with, or their units on the board aren't up to par with what the Germans have, for instance. And as the Commonwealth, for instance, you have to spread your production around the board. You can't just focus it all in one area. Russia especially has to hold on. Basically, they just need to bunker down and hold Moscow until the Allies can come and open a second front against Germany. Um, a strong Commonwealth player, so the UK factions, they can really disrupt the Japanese aggression in the Pacific. While also being a thorn to the Germans in the European side of the board, launching little attacks, and any unit that they can pull away from Russia is one less unit the Russians have to deal with. Technology is also a factor in this game, especially early on, as there are those few technologies down here that you can see that have such low numbers that you can usually get them within the first few turns. I found typically each country tends to focus on specific areas, which they're usually already strong in. So researching the technology in that area gives them that sort of extra punch, and you'll hear their enemies bemoaning the added power of, say, the Japanese Air Force, which is probably the strongest of the Japanese uh, branches, especially when the Japanese get the jet fighter technology, for instance. Of course, this is a die-based game, um, so you will have good runs and bad runs. You may have a sound strategy and plenty of attacking power, but a slew of bad rolls could certainly turn the tide in the battle, could even affect the outcome of the war. Um, all comes down to what units you value the most and which ones you can afford to lose in order to obtain your goals. Um, so hopefully you found this video informative and a good little introduction to this game. Just kind of explaining, uh, just in a nutshell, what this game is about. In my next video, I'll go over some of the uh, rules that either are questionable or for new players are sort of like the basic sets that are good to know. I do obviously recommend reading the rule book, which you can find online in a PDF. Save a copy, print one out, however you like to do it. But being familiar with the rules is going to help because obviously playing a game is going to take far too long if we have to explain every little thing about every little thing. So having some sort of prior knowledge uh, of the game, or even having read the rule book, will greatly help, or even watch some of my videos. In the coming weeks, I hope to be adding many more videos all across the board. Um, this week, my goal is to get the next video out, which will be the sort of an introduction to gameplay based on the rules, which should hopefully provide people enough information that they may be interested. As you can see on the top of the screen here, and I'll zoom in just a little, some of the country-specific rules with explanations to how they work are listed, and I can probably go over those in another video, since I think there will be a good amount of content there. Also, a good refresher for me. I've basically moved on to a new version, which I'll be playing for the first time this weekend, which is called the Global War 1936 to 1945. Uses a different map, slightly different rules, but same general gameplay as far as I can tell. Um, so be looking out for a video of that gameplay. I probably will try and record some of it, and also I'll be making future videos on that as well. So feel free to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and leave some comments and questions, and I'll get back to you when I can. Panzer Penguin signing out.